I made a game about briefing in 96 hours for a GMTK Game Jam 2025. Yes, about briefing. Like brief in, brief out, brief in. You get the point. That's what all of us do all the time, their entire life. I would even go so far to say that briefing is the most popular activity on the planet. For all people. So why not make a game about it? Briefing is so fun, right? Okay, maybe not fun by default, but that's kind of the challenge. How do you take something as basic as briefing and turn it into an actual game mechanic that feels fun, interesting and maybe a little bit stressful? And also, who the am I to try and pull this off? I'm the Code Otter and some of you may know me from my YouTube channel and my Unity tutorials. Some may have never heard of me, and for those, let me introduce myself. I'm the Code Otter and I have a YouTube channel on which I make Unity tutorials. And I am repeating myself. Is this maybe already a spoiler to this year's Game Jam theme? Maybe it is. But before I reveal the theme, let's back up for a second. What is a Game Jam? Well, a Game Jam is a fun little event where people from all over the world try to make a complete video game from scratch in a very short amount of time, based on a given theme. The GMTK Game Jam is one of the biggest ones out there. Thousands of participants, thousands of games, and just 96 hours to make something creative, chaotic, unexpected, and fun. You build, you submit, and then the community rates the games based on how well they fit the theme, how fun they are, and how creative the idea is. There's no big prize, but honestly, it's just super cool to be part of it. And if you somehow manage to make it to the top 20, your game actually gets featured by Mark Brown himself, the creator of the GMTK Game Jam and one of the biggest game dev YouTubers out there. He makes a whole top 20 video where he showcases the best games from the jam. And I think that it's a pretty cool thing to have your game being seen by thousands or even millions of people. But other than that, it is also just a great feeling to actually finish a game project. Every one of you knows the feeling of starting hundreds of projects and never having the actual time or motivation to finish one. So that's why I really like to participate in game jams. This year's Game Jam was not my first. 2023, I also have participated in the GMTK Game Jam with the theme Roles Reversed. It was my first game jam, so I was pretty new to this. And the game I have made back then was a game where the player controls the dungeon instead of the adventurers that try to sneak in and steal the loot. The concept was pretty basic, which is pretty okay for a game that has to be made in 48 hours. And yes, that's how long this game jam was. But I mostly focused on putting a finished game together and not panicking too much than on actually making a fun world-shattering game experience. And for my first game jam, this was pretty okay-ish. In 2024, I already knew how things were working and how I can manage to make a game in such a short time. And that's why it also was a nice surprise that this jam was 96 hours and the theme was built to scale. It was about scaling things. Very small things or very large things. And I came up with a minimalistic puzzle game concept where you connect blocks to form larger blocks so that you can connect to even larger blocks until you reach the required size to finish the level. And this went pretty well. I had this concept pretty fast during my first day and could focus on building the thing itself. In the end, I have made a fun little puzzle game with minimalistic graphics and it worked well with the theme. Not as well as I would like it to be, but it was a step in the right direction. So for this year I knew that I want an even more polished game and that I want to focus more on the art style as well as to have a unique idea. And here we come to this year's jam. Wednesday evening. The game jam started and the theme was loop. The interpretation was up to the developers. Something about actual loops, or programming loops, racing tracks, doing the same thing over and over again, or something totally different. My first step was ideation. 7 PM was the perfect time for me as I just finished my work for this day and had the whole evening for brainstorming. I had a few cool concepts, but I got stuck pretty fast on the idea that I want to make a little dude, this one here, that only lives for a few seconds and then dies. And after this, he starts again at the start of the level and during his life, he can collect persistent things, unlock doors and areas and also collect souls so that the next little dude that spawns has a better time in his short life and can get further. And then the next one can get even further, and so on. But hey, Codota, you have told us that you have made a game about briefing. And that doesn't sound like a game about briefing. And yeah, in the end, I did. But things didn't work as expected. And I have wasted the first 24 hours on thinking about a full-scope 3D Metroidvania. But I didn't notice it until like Thursday evening. So the first thing I did was to make this little dude late at night instead of polishing my concept or thinking a bit more about it. The next day I had to work again. And while I was working, I also thought a little bit about my game concept. And in the evening, after I finished work, I sat down and brought all my ideas to paper. And there I realized that it's a 3-year project that I want to make on a weekend. I tried to scope it down, but without much content, the game just didn't feel right to me. So on Thursday night, I decided to restart the jam. I still had enough time, and as I have learned from my first jam, 48 hours are also enough. This sounds like a calm reaction to my problem, right? Yeah, it was a bit different. I couldn't come up with new ideas. All that came to my mind was somehow related to my Super Metroidvania, and my brain already has committed to making it happen. So while I was sitting at my desk and trying to brainstorm as many ideas as possible, I was too stressed and I knew that I had to work the next day again, so even less time was remaining. I tried to calm down a bit and relax. And there it came to my mind. A stupid little idea. A game about briefing. It is the loop of life. I mean, it's the most important loop in our life that we do over and over. We never stop doing it, so this was the perfect idea for the theme. A game where the player has to breathe in and breathe out. A game about controlling the breath. This was genius. From the moment I had this idea, I knew that it is it. It's maybe not the most creative gameplay idea, but such a unique theme that I had to go for it. But how to make breathing fun? What part of breathing can be made into a fun loop? It's the air. The inhale and exhale. When we inhale air, objects that are flying around are inhaled as well. When we exhale, we push things away. That's it. I will make a game about breathing where objects are either inhaled or exhaled. I had the idea, and at this point I felt pretty confident. This was the end of Thursday. I knew that now the real jam begins for me. On Friday I had to work again, but after work at 7 PM it was time. Time to start making the game. I did not want to waste much time on writing everything down, so I just started with a quick prototype. I have first made a controller for breathing. Then I also made the inhale and exhale mechanic and some flies. When the player presses the space key, the breathing gets inverted. The player can change between inhale and exhale, and therefore between inhaling things and exhaling things. I used placeholder graphics at first, but I realized pretty fast that this game was not about the complex mechanics, but about the feel. Breathing has to feel right, to feel good. So while the controller was feeling alright, I wanted to find the style for the game fast. I thought about an activity where breathing is important, and I came up with meditation. Meditation is about controlling the breath, so I had my theme. I made this little dude here in Affinity Designer and called him Bob. Say hi to Bob. Bob is stressed from his 9-to-5 job and wants to try some meditation to calm down. Inside Unity, I have implemented the animation for Bob. This was already feeling very good, and it was also pretty late, so that was enough for Friday. On Saturday, I started very early. I still was very much in the mood of designing my graphics in Affinity Designer, so I started the day with some background creation. It was pretty fun and I got pretty good results. Then I had to make it into a game with a goal and stuff like this. And my idea was to have an air bar which has areas, and only in those white areas, changing between inhale and exhale is safe. If you change in the gray area, you will lose some relaxation points. And relaxation points is the other topic here. So the bar in the top was meant to show how relaxed Bob is, and spoiler, I had it for quite a while. Like almost the whole Saturday, but in a game jam, that's a while. You know, only 96 hours and stuff like this. So I thought, and still think, that having a goal like get Bob as relaxed as possible, aka fill the top bar, is a good idea. The problem was that I just couldn't get it right. I tried almost the whole Saturday to make it feel good, but it was either way too hard, and pressing space wrong one time would mean that you lose, or it was too easy. And because I had very complex calculations, like very complex calculations, the movement of the bar did not make much sense to the player. It was very logical, but because many things were adding different velocities to the bar, it looked very random. And I'm sure that there is a way from game design perspective, and if I would have time, I would also find it. But in this case, I just went with the easy route here and scrapped it. Because, again, time. Guys, time. You don't understand how stressed I was because I wanted to have everything done by Saturday night so that I can polish on Sunday. I look very calm in the video and my game is very calm, but I was not calm. No. So back to the topic. I just replaced the cryptic relaxation bar with health and points, like in a good old arcade game. And it felt good. I mean, it's not innovative, but good. It was already pretty late, so I went to bed and there was not much left to do. Just some polishing, right? Right. On Sunday, there was way more to do than just a bit of polishing. I first implemented the new UI elements for the points, the life points and the air bar. This looked pretty good, but something felt still off. The player had too little control on when he can change direction. The change window was a bit too small and therefore the player had no control over what he inhales and exhales. To help with this issue, I have created a small window in which the player can hold the breath. When the indicator reaches one of the two ends of the bar, he remains in the current state. So when he is inhaling, he can inhale for a bit longer, and the same for exhale. This gives the player the possibility to time the reverse a bit better and therefore to time what he will inhale and what not. Here the player has to make the decision if he wants to hold the breath and risk to lose the game, because when the time is over, it's also game over. And I had to make animations for this as well, and it took some time. The time was running and I had no sounds, so next I have recorded a few sounds and also went through all my libraries and came up with this soundscape. Then I also had to make the game over screen and the main menu, which was not too complicated, but still took some time. And of course, there were a lot of bugs that had to be fixed before the upload. There are probably a lot more things that I had to do, but let's not make this video too long, so let's just say that I polished some more stuff here and there. And at that point, the game was pretty finished. But one important thing was missing: the tutorial. The game is not that complicated, I think. But I want to guarantee that all players understand the game and can play it without wondering what is going on. I had not much time left, so I just put something together in Affinity Designer and just exported it as an image to Unity. I added a few buttons on it and done. And with this last thing, the game was done. In 96 hours I have managed to make this game, from ideation on different concepts to a somehow polished version in just 96 hours. And that's why game jams are so great. I would have never come up with this idea, nor would I have made it. But with the pressure of time and the fact that you have to finish something, I just went for it and it worked out. Is it a Game of the Year candidate? Probably no. Or is it? Maybe? No, it's not. But it's a fun little finished game. Something I have never seen before, and more importantly, something I have done by myself. And I have learned something important in this game jam. Almost everything, every action, every activity, like everything we see around us, can be made into a game. When I create games, most of the time I just want to do something in a very specific genre with a very specific theme. And it does not always have to be a card game, and it also does not have to be set in a fantasy world. I can just pick whatever feeling or activity comes to my mind and turn it into a fun game. And that's really something magical. I wouldn't have thought that a game about griefing is fun, but after all, it is. It just depends on the right design decisions and the right direction. Would this game work as a 40-hour story-based strategy game? I don't think so. But an endless arcade game with just one button? Yeah. So sometimes you have to think outside of the box and great ideas will come. Now the rating period for the game is still ongoing, so I don't know which place in the game jam I will get. But doesn't matter after all, I had fun with making the game and I hope you had fun with this video. If you want to play the game on itch.io, you can find the link in the description. If you want to support me, leave a sub and a like, it helps me a lot. Thank you for watching and see you next time.